Hello and welcome to week 2 of Geos 330W, the online writing course. I want to review what should have been completed in week 1 and the upcoming assignments for week 2, which will help to prepare you for your first rough draft of the research papers, which you have due starting on September 23rd. So let's take a look at what we have so far completed. What you should have done in the first week is you should have read the syllabus completely. Remember, the syllabus for every class that you take is a contract between you and the instructor detailing what the class is about, what is required for you to complete the course, and giving you a general feeling for what the course will entail. Your first 2 assignments were discussion boards with your small group. So you should have introduced yourself to your Unit 1 group, and that included things like your name, your hometown, what year you are, and something fun you did over the summer. That assignment was detailed in the first video I released on called Welcome to Geos 330W and posted on the class landing page. You should have already read Chapter 1 and completed the Chapter 1 quiz online also. Remember, the quizzes are all open until the end of Unit 1, and Unit 1 will close on September 30th when your first journal article and research paper are due. So you don't have to take the quizzes by now, but in order to evenly distribute the quizzes so that you don't get stuck taking 7 quizzes on one day, I highly suggest taking these quizzes one at a time. And so by now you should have completed reading Chapter 1 and taking that first chapter quiz, even though it's still available and can be taken at your leisure. The other discussion board that you should have completed was the reading games article and discussion board with your small group. So let me show you where those can be found. So let me exit out of this and go to my Blackboard Learn page. So the readings that you were supposed to have completed, book chapters, Chapter 1 is available here. So you can read Chapter 1 even if you don't own the book. Chapter 2, which is this week's reading, which you should complete and also complete the associated quiz, is right here. And then the third chapter for next week, Human Population Growth, is available here. So remember, I've supplied the first 3 readings for you. The quizzes that you should have completed can be found here in this content area. So far you can see that you have a number of different quizzes available for you. The Chapter 1 quiz is the one that I suggest that you should have completed by now. Just for the weekly progression, remember the syllabus shows a weekly progression of the content that we'll be going through. So if you go back to the welcome page and scroll down, here's the syllabus, and at the bottom of the syllabus is our weekly progression. We're in the week 2, September 2nd, Chapter 2 reading of the ozone hole and the scientific method. So you should be completing these week by week, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 4, scientific handouts and readings, Chapter 8, and then Unit 1 will be complete, and we will have completed the first part of the class. And we will have our first research paper, rough draft, due September 23rd, and the final draft due September 30th. So this schedule is a nice way to kind of pace yourself through the content that we're going to be doing in this class. In terms of the first group assignments, you should have gone to your group discussion board, which can be found here. If you go to your group and you click on discussion board, you can see that there are the introductions discussion board and the reading games discussion board. And if you click on the introductions, what you should see is people introducing themselves to their classmates. And the reading games discussion board is where you can post about your reading games experience. The reading games is an article that is found in the readings content area here on the side. So if you click on the readings content area and go to journal articles, reading games is the article that you were supposed to read in order to complete that discussion board post. So here's the reading games article. It's a very straightforward article that gives you tools and techniques for dealing with academic texts, in particular journal articles like the ones that we'll be working with here in this class. So if you haven't completed those two group discussion boards yet, they're still open, they're still available. You can introduce yourself. This should be a very straightforward, easy thing to do, and then go and read the reading games article and contribute to this discussion board. There's a minimum of 3 posts in order to receive full credit. So when you go read one another's responses to the reading, so here's what you're supposed to discuss on the discussion board. Here's the 3 questions I want you to answer. And once you've answered those yourself, then you can go in and look at what the other students have said about the reading and how you think it might help you in regards to this course. So that's basically what you should have done for week 1. Now let's look at what we should do for week 2. The basic overview is that you have your very first journal article that you have to read. And that is also available in the content area readings. Go to readings, journal articles, carbon-14 dating and the Greenland Viking demise. If you click on that, you will download the PDF, and the PDF is a journal article about chapter 1 and the disappearance of the Norsemen from Greenland. So this is a research paper which is current research done on the narrative of the disappearance of the Greenland Vikings. Remember in chapter 1, the discussion was showed that there were 5 different contributing factors to the disappearance of the Greenland Norse. This article focuses specifically on one aspect of the disappearance of the Greenland Norse and moves the scientific evidence forward to support a hypothesis about what happened to those Greenland Norse. And it's kind of interesting because on multiple levels for the purposes of the course. So first thing you need to do is to read the the carbon-14 dating and the disappearance of the Greenland Norsemen. Read that journal article. When you're reading it, use the tools and techniques from the reading games article. Remember, the reading games article gives you ways for dealing with difficult texts. And this carbon-14 dating and the disappearance of the Greenland Norsemen is a difficult text. So much of it you won't understand, and it's going to be beyond your capability to really work with. It's up to you to be able to kind of pick and pull the parts of the paper that you can understand. And the Reading Games article really gives you tools and techniques for dealing with difficult texts and not becoming frustrated with them. I don't intend you to understand everything about this article, but I do think that you can get the main points from it and be able to further your understanding scientifically and narratively about what happened to the Greenland Norse. Once you've read that article and you've used the Reading Games techniques on that article of actively engaging your reading, meaning taking notes while you're reading, having a conversation with the author within the margins of the paper, just like is detailed in the Reading Games article. Once you've done that, you'll then complete a class discussion board on the Greenland Norsemen. Now, the first week I had you guys working in your small groups. Those were small group discussion boards. This week, you'll be working with the entire class in a discussion board within the context of your small groups. So there's one big discussion board for the entire class within which your small group will be posting by itself, but you can also go and look at what other groups are doing and how they're responding to this reading. Part of the idea here in the theory is that the best way to learn is in a social setting. And in my in-person classes, we're able to get into small groups and then we're able to have big class discussions. I'm hoping that this discussion board technique will enable students to go and interact with one another, not only in your small groups, but in the entire class as a whole, hopefully kind of synthesizing what would be done in a classroom setting. Now, in order to keep up with the progression of our class content, you should also read Chapter 2 in the book, and you should take the Chapter 2 quiz. Those should be done by the end of the week this week. And then you're going to research your first article to prepare for research paper 1. This is kind of a scaffolding. So the whole first part of the class in terms of the assignments that we're doing is to try to scaffold your first research paper so that when we get to September 23rd, you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do research. I don't know how to read these difficult texts that I'm being assigned. We're breaking this down week by week and allowing you to learn it in small chunks so that it's easier for you to digest. So you will have a research assignment that I will post on Blackboard Learn, and that research assignment will ask you to basically go out and research the ozone hole. That's why you need to read Chapter 2 and take the Chapter 2 quiz this week, is because you'll actually start researching this week the ozone hole, and you'll be turning in and having a discussion on the ozone hole and the article that you find at this week sometime. And you'll see that assignment get posted here in the next 24 hours or so. That assignment will show up over here in the assignments content area. So once you have read the Carbon-14 Dating and Disappearance of the Greenland Norsemen article, and you're ready to start the assignment of the class discussion board on the article, you'll need to go to our Blackboard Learn page and interact with your small group. So let me show you where that can be found. So here's our Blackboard Learn page. Once again, here's the journal article, which you can download from the readings content area in the Blackboard Learn page. And for this discussion board, instead of going to your small group, you'll actually just go to this content area called Discussion Boards. Click on that discussion board, and you'll see the detailed instructions for how to complete the assignment. The assignment you should complete this discussion board by 9/6/19. So that is this Friday, Friday the 6th by 11:59 p.m., so midnight. Read through this detailed instructions on how to complete it. I've actually posted some examples for your small groups. So within the forum, you'll need to create a thread for your small group, and you'll want to title that thread with the name of the group coordinator. So that'll be one person within your group, your small group, and you'll title it Unit 1 Group X, and the X would then have, it would be a 1 or a 2 or a 3 depending on what your group number is. And so your group will have its own thread within the greater discussion that is taking place within the class. So there'll be about 10 different groups because there's 30 students in the class, 3 people per group. And within the 10 groups, you'll complete the assignment of discussing what happened to the Greenland Norsemen. Why did they disappear? And what is different between what the article says about why they disappeared and what the textbook says? So if you click on this, you can see my example for the thread. One of the first things you have to do is to figure out one person to be the group coordinator. So you want one person to be responsible for starting the thread, answering the questions in their own way, and then each person should go in and add to the discussion and help to flesh out your understanding of the research paper. And so this is really just to show you how the conversation can go. The conversation is started by the group coordinator, and then it's carried on by students 2 and 3 to help further discussion. And so at each stage of this discussion, you're kind of referencing one another's understanding. You're to be addressing what you do understand and what you don't understand, and trying to come up with a better way to really incorporate these concepts into your long-term memory. And in the classroom, what we get to do is we get to read this article and talk about it. Since we don't have a classroom, we can't physically talk about these things. Instead, we have to do these discussion boards, which will allow you to articulate in written word, which actually is a really nice aspect of this writing intensive course. Well, I hope that you're starting to get the hang of the Blackboard Learn page for this class, Geos 330W online. I know there's a lot to take in the first couple of weeks. Things will start to settle down and feel a little more routine as we move into weeks 3, 4, and 5. And once we've completed the first unit, I think you'll start to feel like understanding the progression of the course and what the ways to interact with group members and to stay on top of the class. I will be releasing weekly emails as well as videos when I feel they are beneficial to your understanding of the course. So please feel free to email me if you have any questions. I'm at your disposal. I've had a number of emails from folks already, and I'm happy to have conversations about the class or even about class content. If you are on campus and you happen to be around on Thursdays, that is my office hours, so you can drop in and talk to me and I can meet you, which is kind of a nice thing to do as well. In the upcoming weeks, we'll also be given some time to work on our first research paper. So that'll be the focus of the next couple of weeks, is to really try to dial in your understanding of what's expected from these research papers and how to best complete them. as well as moving through the content from the chapters in the book. All right, hope you're all having a good week too of your college experience, and look forward to hearing from you more later on.